Ari, I know the answer to this question before I ask it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you look good? That's all the answer we need. We're not going to talk about how Ari looks all day, though. This is Ari Wasserman. This is Bill Landis. I'm Doug Maurice. We're here at Ohio Stadium after Ohio State's win over Hawaii on Saturday. And the question we actually want to ask is, did Ohio State look good? They shut out a team. They almost scored 40 points. But did they look good, Bill Landis? You look good, too. I like your shirt.
Thanks, man. My girlfriend asked me if I was trying to dress like you.
That's a terrible thing. Cole's clearance rack.
I think it was a compliment, though. I don't know. Can we split it into two? Because on one side of the field, I think they definitely look good, and on the offensive side, they didn't look good at all. So I'll say kinda. I don't know. Is that
okay? I'll give you the good stuff then. How good do you think the defense was? I mean, Hawaii, they have a quarterback who used to be at USC, but they're not filled with talented, game-breaking skill guys. Right. So how good was shutting them out?
I think the fact that Ohio State now has shutouts in its two shutouts in its last 5 games, is that right, or last 6 games?
Yeah,
is pretty good. Kerry Combs said it after the game. He said shutouts in college football don't happen that often, no matter who you're playing. You look around the country, even teams like Alabama are playing bad teams, and those teams still somehow get a touchdown. So to keep any team off the board, I think, is impressive. I think Ohio State's defense did look good. They were kind of after Max Whittick the entire game. That guy didn't have much time to throw, and when he did, he looked a little jittery and made some bad throws that, if they were on the money, maybe we're talking about something different. Maybe Hawaii put a score or two on the board, and this game looks a little more interesting. But I think the defense overall has looked pretty good the first 2 games. Considering Joey Bosa didn't play the first game, they still had a pretty good pass rush. The secondary has looked good with Garyon Conley back there, seemingly stepping in to that number 2 corner spot. So I think they have to be very happy with the way the defense has played the first 2 games. Offense, I'm not so sure.
A stat I found interesting, and people are going to talk and write a lot about the quarterbacks after this game. Ezekiel Elliott, I think it was 3.7 yards per carry in this game. 27 carries, I think, for 101 yards, something like that. Broke some big ones at times, but this is the guy that we're used to him running for 200 yards per game. So, we know the quarterbacks weren't super sharp. What did you think of that part of it, that part of that offense that was absolutely dominant and relied upon in the postseason, the offensive line and that run game with Elliott?
I think that 27 carries for 101 yards and 3 touchdowns is usually an outstanding game. But as you pointed out, it's not to the level that Elliott's hype has reached. I don't think it's up to the standard. So, I just think sometimes it's crazy how much change there is in the backfield, and I think you're probably going to touch on this a little bit in your stories, but sometimes I wonder if it's hard for Ohio State's offense to get in the rhythm because the person who's taking the snap seems like it's somebody different every other play. And, I think the offensive line did an okay job, but there was some sloppy quarterback play, I think, from both JT and Cardale. And the only person that was really consistent on the offense all day was Zeke, and they were able to key on that. So 27 carries is plenty of time to get to 101 yards, but I'm not sure I would say that it was a great, outstanding game by him. 3.3 yards of carries is what I think you have to look at the most, and that's not impressive.
They didn't really break the big ones like we saw against Virginia Tech when I wrote that, hey, this is going to be an offense that doesn't grind things out. They're going to break 50-yard plays every game. When they did score, it was more of a grind. They put some drives together. They clearly weren't sharp. I'll give them a little bit of the 4.5-day preparation. They played Monday night. They got home at 4 o'clock in the morning. To Urban Meyer's credit, he said, we're not using that as an excuse. They made the schedule. You can't. Right. And Hawaii plays in the middle of the ocean. So, for them to fly 4,000 miles. So credit to Ohio State for not using that. But if you ask the question, and we're going to ask the question every week, they won. Of course they won. We're going to be standing here for the next 2 months, and they're going to have won. You can go ahead and play this back when I'm wrong, but until they play Michigan State, we're going to assume they're going to win. They're probably going to win, but as you just stated before we came on, they're probably going to have some less than impressive wins. So the analysis and the question that matters is, what does that mean for the future? That's what always matters. You can't just live in today. So the question, what does it mean for the future? That I'll give them 4.5 days. I don't think what we saw offensively today makes you say, ooh, Ezekiel Elliott can average 3.5 yards a carry the rest of the year.
In last year, Ohio State had certain games, even at the end of the year in November when JT Barrett already arrived, where they had some slumps offensively. And all it takes is 160 spot on the board next week to make this one completely forgettable. Yeah. So I think that over the course of the next 9 or 8 games now until Michigan State, they're going to be playing teams that they're way better than. and they're not going to beat every single one of them by 65. It's just not going to happen. That's not the way college football works. So there will be games where they win 38-0 and they don't look as great as you want them to look. But Ohio State, when you think about it, even with the week 2 last year, they lost to Virginia Tech. So I think that the idea that they're already to the level where they should be is a little bit flawed. I think they've got some things to work out. Obviously, the quarterback situation and the defense are some new guys out there. And, you know, in 9 or 10 weeks, they should be the team that most resembles a national champion. But for right now, I think that beating a team 38-0 is just going to be a normal game.
I'm intrigued by how much they snap to Braxton Miller and how little they throw short passes to him. Quick answer, is it possible for them to fall in love with Braxton Miller direct snaps too much?
Yeah, I think so. And I was just going to say, the thing that's really stuck out to me over the first 2 games, and this is a longer answer than you probably want, but
Buzz, time's up. Thank you.
just Cardale Jones is the quarterback. Urban Meyer's made that decision. And the first 2 games, they've thrown 1 pass in each game that's been more than like 25 yards down the field. It's very interesting to me that the Cardale's not kind of letting loose, and I don't know what the reason is. Maybe it's because the offensive line's struggling, or maybe it is because they got Braxton Miller and they want to get the ball in his hands. But I think it is changing the offense, maybe making it a little different than we would expect it to be with Cardale at quarterback.
It's an evolution. This will never evolve. This always works. This looks good.
Flannel, jeans, Vans. Yup.
Bill Landis, Doug Maurice, Ari Wasserman, thanks for watching here at cleveland.com. Again, Ohio State, a 38-0 win over Hawaii. Next week is Northern Illinois. The week after that is Western Michigan, and then they get in to the Big Ten schedule. Thanks for reading. Thanks for watching here at cleveland.com.